All right, let's get into muscles of the face. And I'll be completely honest, as an athletic trainer, even going through and TAing graduate level cadaver anatomy, this is something that I still don't know like the back of my hand. But it was very hard for me when I was taking the class or teaching it to actually have to review and know what these muscles are. But I also want to say that I recently stumbled upon this documentary actually called Body Language Decoded. It's on Amazon Prime, and I'm just mentioning that because it talked a lot about nonverbal body language, but specifically a good amount of the documentary talked about how our facial expressions are just innate and ingrained into our brains and our emotions and everything like that. So a lot of this we can't even really control, and these muscles of facial expressions are universally programmed and innate to us as humans. So it's very interesting, and of course I know that there'll be a lot more other people who are more versed at explaining the muscles of the face, but this is also interesting for me as well. So I'm gonna just give a brief rundown as to what these muscles are. And it's kind of ridiculous because with a combination of different muscles engaging and firing, we can make thousands, tens of thousands of facial expressions that are, again, linked to our emotions, linked to how we're feeling, linked to responses, reactions, and all of those things. So let's start with the forehead muscles. So right here you see frontalis, right? Frontalis is these big muscles that we are going to hide underneath here, but it is over the frontal bone, hence the name frontalis. And over here, all of this is your aponeurosis, or your scalp, which is actually made up of 5 layers. So your scalp is made up of, and this is the order from superficial to deep, it's made of your skin, then dense connective tissue, aponeurosis, loose areolar tissue, and then pericranium, which is right on top of your cranium or your bone. So that is your scalp. And what's clinically relevant here is that your scalp, it's very taut. This is holding a lot of tension from the back of your skull and this occipitalis muscle. It's holding that tension between occipitalis and frontalis, and because of that, it's very taut. So if you ever have like a cut or anything, the split will usually be pretty big. You have a lot of blood supply in your scalp too, so it typically bleeds a lot worse than what the cut or the laceration looks like, but that is your scalp. So let's hide occipitalis, let's hide this aponeurosis, and let's focus on the muscles of facial expression. So now you have, and anatomy books will typically have a page where they have this person demonstrating all these different facial expressions and telling you which muscle is activating or controlling that. So that's how I would also encourage people to learn these muscles of facial expression, or if you're studying for an anatomy exam, then definitely use those pictures. This, I'm just gonna kind of give an overview of where all of these muscles are. So now right above the nose bridge, you have the procerus muscles. So right here, that kind of gives you that scrunching of your nose. Then you have your corrugator supercilii muscle, and that is these ones right here, which will help to make kind of that frown face with your eyebrows. Then you have your depressor supercilii muscle, and this is again linked to that eyebrow motion. So I'm gonna hide those. Then you have your orbicularis oculi, this big muscle here that controls like blinking and allows us to close our eyelid. So that is your orbicularis oculi muscles. The other thing that I will say is that a lot of the facial muscles, or muscles of facial expression, it is connected and integrated into the layer of the skin. So because of that, it is very typically thin. It's sitting right below the skin surface, and that allows us to move our skin in ways that we can make these facial expressions. Then we have your nasalis muscles. So right here, let's hide those. And I believe this is your levator labii superioris aliquae nasi. And that has that really long name, so that's one that we memorized in our classes because we knew that was gonna be on an exam. But anyway, that is the muscle that helps you kind of flare your nostrils a little bit. So that is what that long name muscle does. So let's hide that. Now we're getting into the muscles that help you to smile. So the next one that we're going to talk about is this, your levator labii superioris. So that doesn't have the extra words on it, but this is what pulls this upper lip kind of upwards. So that's what that function is. So let's get rid of those. And then you have your zygomaticus muscles. So this is your zygomaticus minor. So let's hide those. Again, in a different way, it kind of pulls your upper lip upwards and outwards a little bit. So that is the minor. This is your zygomaticus major. Let's turn to the side a little bit and you can see how it would pull the outside of your lips out to the side, right? Let's see if I can get a better angle. Here, maybe like this. Zygomaticus major, but you can see where it's attaching, right, to the orbicularis oris muscle, right? Oris meaning mouth. So let's hide this on both sides. Right, we're already getting to bone. So now we have your levator anguli oris. So again, this is going to help to pull the lips upwards. You have your buccal fat pad right here. So let's hide the fat pad and you're starting to see your skull. As I mentioned, this is your orbicularis oris. So the eyes was orbicularis oculi. This is orbicularis oris. That helps to bring your lips together. And along with that muscle, with your buccinator, which is one of the fun muscles to say, that helps you to puff your cheeks out. And this is your buccinator. It's a little deeper. So let's hide that. It's right on the sides of your cheek. Then these small muscles right underneath your nose are your depressor septi nasi. They are going to depress your nose a little bit, but they are very small muscles that's sitting underneath your orbicularis oris. And then now we're getting into the muscles below your mouth. So let's start with this one. This is your right depressor anguli oris. Oris again referring to mouth. And you have one on each side. Okay, let's go on these muscles on the side. This is your right risorius. So the risorius muscle, it's what pulls the lips apart, almost like you're smiling without showing teeth. That's your risorius muscles. So let's get rid of those. And you're seeing we only have a few more to go. You are going to see these depressor muscles, so depressor labii inferioris, right? We're gonna hide both of those. Then you're gonna have your mentalis muscles. And then this muscle that's very superficial is your platysma, right? And that's what, if you make those muscles pop out of your neck by kind of pulling your jaw downwards, that's your platysma muscles. Okay, and then we have the muscles of mastication, which is not really facial expression, so I'll talk about that in the next video. But those are all of the muscles of facial expression. And you can see already here with all of those possible muscles doing various types of facial movements, there's so many expressions that we can make, and it gets really interesting because a lot of these facial expressions, like I saw in that documentary, it talks about how a lot of this is hardwired and innate to just us as humans. Again, in my profession, I'm not the most versed in the facial muscles, but it is still very interesting to study and understand the intricacies of all the muscles of facial expression.